Okay, cars again. As in exercise 13, state regulators are checking up on repair shops to see if they are certifying vehicles that do not meet pollution standards. So we have to figure out what is meant by the power of the test. Will the power of the test be greater if we test 20 or 40 cars? Why? Will the power be greater if they use a 5% or a 10% level of significance? Why? Will the power of the be greater if the repair shop inspections are only a little or a lot out of compliance? Okay, so let's again, the null hypothesis in this problem is the shop is meeting emission standards. The alternative is the shop is not meeting emission standards. Okay. Now power is probability of correctly rejecting H sub O when H sub O is not true. Okay? So in this case, what is power? Well, it's the probability of correctly determining that the shop is not meeting emission standards. Okay? So that's what power is. Okay? Now what affects power? There's four things. Okay? Sample size. Okay? When sample size increases, power increases. Okay? Second thing is the level of proof. That's alpha. So when alpha increases, power increases. Okay? Third is effect size. When effect size increases, power increases. And then the last one is variation. When variation increases, power decreases. That's the only one, because again, when sample size goes up, variation will go down. Okay? And then if variation goes down, power would go up. These two are kind of connected. Okay? So the first question we already answered, what's power? So question B, what would be more powerful? That's this N of 20 or an N of 40? Well, when your sample size is bigger, your power is bigger. So N equals 40 would mean more power. Okay, you have more evidence. Okay, if you have more evidence and the defendant's guilty, then you have a better probability of convicting them. Okay? And then C is, will the power be greater if they use a 5% or a 10% level of significance? Okay, so okay. So here's our alpha level. Okay. So remember, our power is this shaded region right here. So this is, I'm going to call this right here, this is the hypothesized distribution. That's what we think it is. That's what we think that this auto shop is. But here's the actual distribution. Okay, so let's say that we're going to reject at the alpha equals 0.05 level. Okay, well, we have a probability of getting a sample that's in this region that's as big as the shaded region. Okay, we have a probability of incorrectly getting it in this region that would be as big as this region. Okay, that would be beta, that would be type 2 error. Now let's increase alpha. Now if I increase alpha, I move alpha over here. Now if I move alpha over there, then what did I do? Well, I increased the region. So I'm more likely to correctly reject the null. Well, what did alpha become in this distribution? It went from 0.05 to now alpha is bigger. It's 0.10. So when alpha increases, our power will also increase. Okay, so that's your answer to C. And then, well, the question is, will it be more powerful? It's a little or a lot out of compliance. Okay, let's say that this is an auto shop that's way out of compliance, right? And that's the hypothesized distribution. So I'm going to draw another one down here that is only a little bit out of compliance. Okay, so if we use this as our alpha level, okay, so this shop, I'm going to call this shop 1, is way more out of compliance than shop 2 because it's farther, the distribution you can see is farther away from our hypothesized distribution. Okay, so the probability that we correctly detect that this shop is out of compliance is this shaded region right here. Right? So that's over 50%. That's like, I don't know, 70, 60, 70%. But in this shop, the power would be here. The probability of correctly determining it's out of compliance is like 50%. So the power here would equal, let's say, 65%. The power here would equal 50%. Okay, so since this shop is more out of compliance, just think of it in a court of law. Is it easier to convict a defendant that's a little guilty or really guilty? Well, a defendant that's really guilty is easier to convict. Well, this shop is much more out of compliance than this one. Okay, I don't know, not real significant, but more out of compliance. So it's easier to detect that this shop's out of compliance than it is shop 2.